And welcome into the New England Hockey Journal's RinkWise podcast. I'm your host, Evan Marinovsky, joined today by the great Patrick Donnelly. Pat, what's up?
I'm great. I had my 6 a.m. skate this morning. It's been a while, so it's good to be back on the ice and back on the pod. It's also been a while there. So yeah, good to be back.
I think we could do a whole podcast on our men's league run-ins and our highlights and our lowlights. And I know you and I were busy this past weekend at the Mass Festival, which we will do in a separate episode. But today, Pat, concerning trend, we're joined by another parent of a player that we cover. But this isn't just any parent. He was 2 years at Westminster from 91 to 93. He was the captain of UNH in 96, 97, played there for 4 incredible years. He was in the pros from 97 to 2010, played in the NHL for the Florida Panthers, St. Louis Blues, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the New York Islanders. He won AHL MVP in 2001, 2002 with the Worcester Ice Cats. He was an assistant coach with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers from 2011 to 2021. He is now an Arizona Coyotes and Utah Mammoth scout since 2022. That is Eric Boguniecki. Eric, welcome.
How you doing? Thank you for
am
having me. Yeah.
I am great, and that is a long list. That I feel like I did my work for the podcast. I'm done.
A good
I feel like
list.
that was everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what that means, but I just turned 50 years old, so I'm on the back nine now. So
No, you're gonna double that intro in the next 50 years. That's what's gonna
yeah.
happen.
Amen. I don't know. I don't know
I think
about that
so.
one.
I think so. Where are you right now? You're coming to us. You're coming to us from a hotel room.
Yeah, I'm in Carolina. I was at game one last night, and yeah, so I'm gonna go back for game two and then head back home Friday.
How much are you on the road, and how much do you just scout in New England?
Yeah, I'm on the road quite a bit, a lot of travel. I'm fortunate enough in my area, it's a lot of driving with all the NHL and American League teams around me. So I'm not flying as much as the guys in the Midwest or obviously out West. So I'm lucky. Guys are jealous of me in my area.
I was gonna say, like Pat, I think you and I, like for our jobs in New England, it's a lot of driving. But I think if we were like Michigan Hockey Journal or Minnesota Hockey Journal, those don't exist. But if they did, those would be jobs that I don't know if we'd be flying, but it'd be like 5 hour drives to go to a big prep game or a 6 hour drive. And thankfully we don't seem to have that. Which is
Yeah, we
nice.
said that we say that a lot, and like I complained enough this weekend going to the South Shore, like Loop Road, and, like if you're trying to get to Quincy, Plymouth, like that area, like unless you're going at like 9 a.m. on a Sunday or the middle of the night, you got to budget like an hour and a half, and that's
Oh
just
yeah.
what it was this weekend. But it's way better than like a St. Paul to Duluth drive or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Eric, you used to be a coach. I know you and I, where we have a story coming on your son Jake in the next magazine. We'll get to him in a little bit, but I know you were an assistant coach in the AHL for a long time, and you transitioned to scouting. And one thing you mentioned to me was it was better with the family and easier in your life. How's that transition been, and what have been some of the pros and the cons for you?
Yeah, no, coaching, I was in Bridgeport with the Islanders for 10 years, and um I love coaching. I miss coaching, and it just was no better feeling than calling a player into the office and giving them the news that they're getting called up, and just knowing you had a part of that, and helping that kid achieve his goals was something special. um and then yeah, just I got into the scouting. um I it was just something different. It was a different angle to watch the game and see the game and learn the game, and being in the meetings um like I have been. It's just obviously you don't get that being a coach. So it's been a lot of fun. We have a great group of guys there in Utah, and we're obviously building there towards something, and we've come a long way in a short amount of time, and look forward to just continuing to build this team out, and then hopefully raise that cup one day.
The Mammoth. What a name. The
Yeah.
Mammoth. It's incredible. I'm curious, like when you're this is kind of generic or more general, but like when you're scouting, What are you watching? I'm always curious what people watch. What are the primary things that they're keeping an eye on when they're scouting a player or a bunch of players?
Yeah, and it varies from scout to scout, obviously, but for me, uh, the probably most important thing for me is the character and just that compete. Without that, uh, it's hard. You watch these playoffs and you just see how hard the game is and just the way they play. And if you don't have that ability to elevate, it's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard for you when you get to these levels. But you know, I I look for hockey sense. It's extremely important. If you don't have it, it's tough to play at the higher levels. So hockey sense for me is probably one of the most important things. And then, everyone thinks, oh, skill, skating, this and that. Yeah, obviously that's a factor, but without a brain, all that other stuff, I don't want to say is useless, but it's you can't accomplish much in a game.
Yeah, it only gets you so far.
Yes, exactly. So
Hockey sense wise, one thing that I've heard a lot of current coaches say is that kids coming up now are better skaters than they've ever been. They're more skilled than they've ever been. But that hockey sense piece seems to be missing a bit with more kids, at least, in the sense that, we all grew up watching games. I think now kids watch it on Instagram or catch the highlights. The focus is a lot on skill work and skating. Do you notice that with there being a little bit less hockey sense, or not really?
yeah, no, 100%. And the amount of training that's out there, whether it's on ice, off ice, it's incredible, and there's so many people out there teaching and coaching. And yeah, I think kids edge work, they start at an early age now, and they're just at the rink nonstop. Um, so is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. Yeah, it helps kids skating in the short term, but in the long term, you see a lot of that. You just see, I think there's too many distractions with the video games and the social media and all the other stuff where I didn't have that. And I was passionate about hockey or sports in general. I would sit in front of the damn TV and watch. My mom would always say that, even when I would go to my brother's games, I would sit like other kids would be running around, playing wall ball or doing whatever. They're in the arcade playing video games. I would sit in the stands and just watch the game from the drop of the puck to the lap to the final buzzer. And and that's where you learn. I tried to steer my son towards that, and when I'm home and not on a job, we're sitting at the TV watching a game, especially now. And I think there's no better way to learn. You just pick up so many things watching the game. And I think that's lacking in today's, game with the younger generation. These kids they don't watch hockey games. Um, you know, what do we say with, some of these kids, they're just kids playing hockey, but they're not hockey players, and that's a
Deep.
tough thing to say, but I've seen a lot of those.
So what's kind of like in your you just kind of said it in your eyes, like kind of, watching is one of the best ways to kind of, learn and kind of develop that sense. But like what are some other things? Is it like getting into, watching like film or, in the summer you have your skill work, but is it also, also carving out time for situational work?
Yeah, no, like video is obviously a great tool. It could be too much,
Yeah.
and that was my always, like, for me, I remember, like, it wasn't like we had the meetings like they have now, but we didn't have the technology or the video. It was VHS, and I never wanted to be saturated with video. Well, look at if they do this, you do, like, you turn players into robots, and
Hmm.
that's the last thing I wanted to do as a coach. For me, playing, it was reading and reacting. If I'm on a power play, yeah, I wanted to know how they would forecheck and kind of, their tendencies in zone, if they're pressuring hard, if they're kind of sitting back, what they're rolling into. But at the end of the day, that's all I wanted to know and needed to know. And then from there, I just used my instincts and reacted to what they were doing. And it was my job to find the open player or make a play. And that's where I get, kind of cautious with video. It can be too much. And I think coaches today do, saturate these players with it. I mean, even in the NHL, the second something happens, everyone's looking down at the freaking ground, at the bench, the floor. You're watching whatever, or a kid grabs an iPad and you're sitting there on the bench watching, and it's just, I think they should ban it. I think they should take it away, but I mean, that's what your video guys are for. If you know what you're worried about offsides or whatever, that's what their job is, to make those calls. But like when you're in the game and you're on the bench, stay focused, what's happening live and yeah, I don't know. Just my
There's
thought.
also probably something to be said for just like, moving on and just getting ready for the next shift instead of kind of, I guess,
Right.
brooding over one little mistake. Like, it's over. It happened. Move on.
It's over. Yeah. Be ready for
and
your next
you did it.
Yeah. And it's like you were out there, you saw it happen.
Yeah. I could tell you things that I did wrong 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't need a video to show me or tell me, it's just like, man, yeah, I remember that play.
Yep.
I would lie in bed at night after every game and just play back the whole game in my head. And yeah, I didn't need a video to tell me or show me anything. I knew exactly what I did or what happened. So anyway, yeah, no, it's technology.
It is. And it's funny because players now are more creative than they've ever been. You see it, even like we're doing a story in the next magazine on the rule change, but for a long time, USA Hockey with the no tag up offsides and things like that, trying to get kids to be more creative. And you do see it. Kids aren't dumping pucks in as much, but sometimes that's okay. Like, and I think that's where the hockey sense part comes in, where it's like if you can marry that, that's when the kids are really good. Eric, I want to talk about your son, Jake, because Jake has such a unique, or has had such a unique path. And a lot of times we'll have coaches and hockey people come on here and say, well, you got to play other sports. You can't be in a rink all the time. But, they have kids in a rink all the time and they, kind of on the side encourage kids not to play other sports. You are the embodiment of that. You're the embodiment of that. Jake grew up more as a baseball player and only in the last 4 or 5 years really transitioned into hockey. I imagine as someone who played in the NHL and who works full time in hockey, that there were probably some tough days where you're like, when he's 8, 9 years old, you're like, it might not be hockey, maybe it's baseball. That's okay. How did you learn not to push too hard and it ended up working out?
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing I'd always tell my wife, I was like, I never want Jake to play hockey for me. Like I just, if he wants to play this game, it's obviously for him. And that goes for any sport, baseball. But I mean, there's no connection with me in baseball. Yeah, I grew up playing it my whole life, but Jake, baseball always came easier for him. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm like, if he chooses baseball, good. I mean, I whatever he's passionate about, that's what I tell him all the time. Just don't do it for me, do it for yourself and nobody else. But be passionate about it, So yeah, I'm a believer in being an athlete. Special, I mean, at the younger ages, no doubt. Jake just turned 16 the end of April, and we're still playing baseball. And his team is going into tournament play. They just played their last game yesterday. I think they're going to be ranked number 1 in the state, and hopefully we'll be there in that championship game and go back-to-back championships. So that to me is it's just unbelievable and incredible, and it's just going to help in so many ways in whatever sport you choose or just life in general. Those experiences and for these kids or parents that are making their kids specialize in sports at such a young age, my answer to them is stop. Don't do it. Make them become athletes.
I think Jake's also an example of it can work out. You don't have to play hockey 24/7.
No.
You don't have to play hockey all season. And up until Jake, I started to feel like, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. Maybe you do
Yeah.
have to like be in skating clinics all summer and work out and all these different things. But it feels like with Jake, that wasn't the case, or at least he was able to marry the two really well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't, I mean, listen, I'm going to piss people off and that's okay. I'm used to that, but the, yeah, I mean, you have people that are making salaries off this stuff now and, like, so yeah, they're going to tell you something differently. Me, you need the breaks. You need it's just mentally, physically, no matter what angle you look at it, it's just you need those breaks. And baseball, what it's done for Jake's hand-eye and everything, it's been incredible. The pressure situations of pitching and being an important pitching in important games or situations, it's been incredible for him mentally. The hockey, no, I didn't do tournaments growing up with Jake. We didn't do any of that. We didn't do any, like for me, it's different because I have the ability to go on the ice with them. So, and I have obviously, but for some parents, I mean, my message would be all those tournaments that you're running to, or you're wasting thousands of dollars. Like you could take half of that money and put it into skill development, and you'll get more out of that than going to some freaking weekend in Minnesota, playing 5 games in 3 days, which is, like whatever. Nobody's watching that. Save your money, put it towards something better and useful.
And he didn't start playing AAA hockey until what, like 12?
4 years ago. Yeah. Second
So,
year Pee Wee.
I mean, it goes to show like that
Yeah.
makes and it's interesting because and even like this season, right? Like he did 15 only mid Fairfield, and I think a lot of kids I think he'd be fine in prep. I'm curious like what your view is on the full season kids playing just against their own age versus prep, because you were a prep guy.
Yeah. I was a prep guy and yeah, it's changed a lot, with all these juniors and like you said, full season teams. Yeah, we're playing year round. We're practicing. We're with that team, and we're developing a bond and a team atmosphere. Where split seasons are tough. You go to prep school, then you go to a split season team. You're not practicing. You just show up on the weekend, play games. Where we're together. And
Mhm.
I think that's hard. It's tough. Then yeah, you jump to your prep school season. It's so short, but and then back to your split season team if you happen to make it to the nationals or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Like the level that we played at in the league, it was so high that you know, I I thought it was outstanding. Like the hockey and the level, like the players you're playing against, it's incredible. And I look at that team, uh, the U17 team coming up here, and majority of those kids all played their birth year on that team. I mean, I'd have to go through and really look at it, but I know a lot of the guys, that we have been playing against, are on that team. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. The prep school thing, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's definitely has changed. And with all these new rules changes, it's probably going to change even more with junior hockey. Um, it's going to be real interesting. We're at the very early stages of it. So major junior in Canada is going to be become very popular. And I don't know which way the USHL is going to go and all those other junior teams, but you may see a shift where these leagues go younger, and therefore, at 14, 15, 16 years old, who knows? You may see kids going junior a lot earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about, just the ripple like the CHL and USHL, all that. Could be its entirely different podcast, because just
Yeah,
the ripple effect that it's going to have. And like you said, everything's going to get younger.
exactly. So Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, Jake, the other thing is, when we tryouts are, again, this drives me crazy. Season ends, a week later, you're in tryouts, all around the country. And it's just like, what are we doing? So much can happen in 3-4 months. But yeah, we're picking a team before that 4 months before the freaking season even starts, and anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think these kids just, if you want it, it becomes a mindset. It's that mentality. What are you willing to do? Do you really love the game? Or does mom and dad love it more? And that's the issue, right? There's a lot of parents out there that want it more than their kids do.
We had St. George's head coach Ali Skelly on, I think it was last year, and we were talking about hockey parents, and he was like, I always thought I'd be, from all my time around the game, I'd be normal and this and that, and he's like, sometimes I find myself getting a little crazy, and I gotta reel it in, and I appreciated that sort of self-reflection. I'm curious, like with you as a hockey parent, and a lot of hockey parents listen to us, like, kind of what I mentioned earlier about, Jake wasn't super into hockey, or more as into hockey as he was baseball. And those are vastly different sports. And you obviously had a huge background in hockey. And I'm curious, like, as a parent, how do you manage that? I mean, obviously, as you said, you're not trying to get him to like hockey, but how do you sort of help manage that and kind of temper your own expectations as he's growing up?
Yeah, like for me, when I was coaching, I missed a lot of Jake's lot of games and just him playing. Um, 10 years, I'm at the rink first thing in the morning, and I'm not getting home till at night. And then you're traveling on the weekends playing in the American League. Um, yeah, so I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I wasn't around much to see him. You know, I was just never focused on if he didn't want to do it, he wouldn't do it. That was it. It was like, I don't want to skate. I remember my wife calling me, and she would bring him to the rink to go skate, and then he'd skate over and he'd be like, I'm all done. I want to get off. And she's like freaking out. She's like, we just got here. She would call me. He wants to get off. He just got on the ice. And I'm like, let him get off. Don't force it. And the second you start forcing that and get out there, pushing them out there, that's when all hell breaks loose. That's not fun for that kid. He doesn't want to be out there. So get him off, and not saying I put an end to it. The next day, hey, want to go to the rink? Okay. And it'll just go back out, probably do it all over again. That happened a few times and more than a few times, but yeah, I don't know. It's just like, don't force it. I mean, if the kid doesn't want to be there, don't force it. That's the biggest thing we did. And Jake's, so he was 11, I think. And I'll never forget, the season ended and we were driving home, and I remember Jake saying to me, he's like, Dad, I want you to really help me in hockey. And I looked at him like, really? He goes, yeah, I'm ready to, try something more, or I'm ready for more. And I'm like, okay. And I was excited. That got me excited. I was all fired up, pumped up. I was like, well, let's get after it, buddy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna be hard. I'm not gonna be, oh, you were great. Meanwhile, you were, terrible. But I'm gonna be honest with you, and that's the only way I know, Jake. I said, it's the only way I know is just being honest. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. And I'm gonna give you the facts and tell you the truth. And it's gonna be hard sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm here to get you better and help you develop. And he bought into that. He understood it. He understood when I was mad and angry and why I was coming after him. But you need that kick in the ass. And it was all constructive. There were a couple times where, it was more than just constructive, because it's effort, like it was his effort, it was his laziness. And he just got sat yesterday in baseball. his high school. Like I wasn't at the game, but he got taken out of the game the last 2 innings, and I was just like, what the, what'd you do? I didn't run out a ground ball, and coach sat me. He goes, I just, my brain, I had a brain, whatever. I didn't run it out. I don't know why. I guess I was frustrated. Coach yanked him out. I wish I could give him a hug right now. But he knows. I go, Jake, that's disappointing. I don't even need to yell now. He knew. He told me, and he's just like, I messed up. He used a different word. But so for me, I'm sitting in Carolina listening to him and him identifying what he did wrong is huge for me. I'm just like, wow, now we're at that point and that stage, kind of what we were just talking about earlier with the video. He's recognizing his mistakes. Doesn't need a call, even though he got punished for it as he should have. He's recognizing it, and that was pretty cool for me last night. I was sitting up in this up in the skybox there, and just like thinking about it. I'm like, great, But yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I think everyone's afraid to see their kid fail, so nobody wants to push them or hurt them in any way. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit, and that's why kids are soft. And it's just like, you know what? I don't know any other way. And you watch these games and you want to play this game. It's hard, very hard. So you got to be raised and trained a certain way to be able to play at these levels. And that's how I think.
And it's 16 to be able to say, yeah, I didn't run out a ground ball and it was on me and I should have got yanked. I think is incredible self-awareness, because most 16-year-olds would be like, my coach sucks.
Yeah.
What a jackass,
Yeah, to put like the hands up in the air, like what?
yeah, I think, and
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of kids, and I think that's kids throughout. It's not just this generation of kids, my generation and past
Yep.
generation, and Eric, I'm sure your generation, a lot of 16-year-olds would have done that, and I think that's phenomenal self-awareness, and I think that I'm assuming that comes from sort of being kind of brought up that way, right?
Yeah. No, I listen, I made a ton of mistakes. I would have been like probably saying some bad words back to the coach. And like I said, I've made so many mistakes and I've learned, and I have the ability to share those with Jake, and not all tell all the stories, but have the knowledge to guide him in the right direction. My dad and my mom and dad, they weren't athletes. My dad was a mechanic, so he didn't really know much about sports. And so for me, yeah, because I said to him, I go, well, what'd you say to Coach Sal? He goes, I just said, I'm sorry, it won't ever happen again. And I was like, okay, good answer, and I was just like, better not happen again, Jake. Don't ever let that happen again, because that pisses me off. And so it's short, sweet message and direct, and yeah, he got it. But yeah, it's definitely me being on him and like letting him know at an early age, what's right and wrong.
How proud were you when he made that national team?
Extremely proud. Just knowing his journey and how far he's come, and just how he's developed that mental mindset in his game, which helps him. Just seeing everything, and it wasn't easy. I mean, like Jake was, like I said, he wasn't the kid that everyone was chasing at a younger age. For the brick tournament, all the summer tournaments, which whatever I wouldn't have done anyway. But it's like he wasn't that guy that was being chased. And like I could, as a just to where he's going and what he's about to do for the next 2 years and represent his country. It's just knowing that feeling of playing for Team USA and putting on that jersey. It's just as a dad, And I know it's still young and early here in his career, but it was a very proud moment for me and my wife.
Yeah, that's that's awesome. We'll get to back to Jake in a little bit, but I'm curious, like back to sort of your answer talking about prep versus full season. And I agree with you. I think the CHL ruling is going to make a huge impact on prep. I think this upcoming season is going to be, it's already getting younger. I think it's going to be even
Yeah.
younger for sure. I mean, you see a lot of the top point getters in prep this past year were younger kids, 08s and 09s. How do you think, do you think prep should embrace that? Or do you think there are changes prep hockey should make to be a little bit more enticing, maybe to keep kids from going to junior a year earlier than maybe they do?
Yeah, I think that's always been an argument. Even like, like when I was playing at prep school, like the amount of games was always a debate. Uh, Prep school hasn't seemed to adjusted to the whatever you want to call it, the way the game's going, and um, they've stuck to that old format. And yeah, for prep school, I do think because it's become such a business that they should probably add more games to their season. And that I know that would have helped keep kids there in the past. Now I'm not so sure. It may be too late. I don't know. But yeah, definitely, Ryan Bork's I coach Ryan and Chris, and I've become very close with them. But I talk to them a lot, and Ryan, I think he's going younger at Cushing.
Hmm.
He's just kind of bringing in younger kids, and so yeah, the direction there, I don't know. Like I don't know like what's going to happen with prep school, like in terms of the level of play. Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? I don't think it's going to get better. It's going to be hard now, and like I said, there's just way too much competition, and these full season teams, these academies. I mean, the what they're doing, and it's a one stop shop, and you're there, and you're playing a hell of a lot more. Not necessarily meaning that's always right, playing more games, but they're training and doing a lot more than what a prep school's doing in terms of hockey.
Yeah, Pat, you see it in the fall. Like, and I hear this from kids all the time who play like regular fall hockey at the U16 or U18 level, and they'll, kind of say to me on the side, like, yeah, this hockey is, it's not that great hockey, And I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is an area, my own opinion, that prep school could kind of divvy into, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, the fall hockey thing is interesting. Just like you said, it's like we've talked about, it's kind of borderline pond hockey, and you see it in the summer at a lot of these showcases and tournaments. And like it's such an interesting like push and pull between, you know, specialization and adding more games and still encouraging differentiation and like being a multi-sport athlete. Because the prep schedule is pretty conducive to that right now. I've had coaches on like the girl because it's big on the girls side where there's a lot of soccer players, field hockey players, lacrosse players, and a lot of coaches love that. They love how it like broadens their skill sets and their experiences and all that. But then you also get coaches saying, "Well, I wish you'd kind of mirror the college season a little bit more, go from October to March instead of December to March, and kind of build out our weeks like college program would be to mirror sort of what they'll get at the next level." And it's like, all right, now we're kind of talking out of both sides of our mouth here. So
Yeah.
it's such an interesting push and pull.
Yeah. I agree with that. It is tough. It's like, I mean, I played football, hockey, baseball,
Yeah,
and in prep school, and I loved it. And it's just like I said, getting back, but like uh, the parents, the people, they want games. They
yeah,
want, and it's how you're not going to be able to control that. It's
yeah,
it's
and
like, and you guys, I could sit here, we could sit here and talk about being an athlete and being everything, but I've talked to parents on my own team, uh, people that aren't even on the team anymore. Uh, I asked them if I had told you back then, would you have listened? And they're like, no. Like they were so crazed and thought like we got to go, play, be on the ice every day, 5 a.m. They would have never believed me. One guy looks back now and wishes he met me earlier, but that's what I said to him. I go, you would have never listened to me, right? He goes, nope.
Yeah.
Great self-awareness by him. That's good
So
self-awareness.
The flip side kind of is
I
too.
go,
It's like,
yeah, I appreciate your honesty, but it's true. You wouldn't have believed me. You wouldn't have listened. So it
yeah,
doesn't matter that we didn't meet.
and like kind of the flip side is too, like the full season schedule still kind of leaves you the spring and the summer to do those other things. But it's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, how you can't really put the genie back in the bottle.
Right. Yeah. Now I don't know. Like it's sad. I do think prep school is going to take a hit. The level of play and the skill, and it's just like when it comes to hockey, these everybody just wants to play hockey and be a hockey player, and unfortunately, that's where it's going. And I don't know if it's ever gonna or where you're ever gonna be able to bring it back. To
Yeah,
think,
Eric, I know you, not to interrupt. I know you mentioned like you played football growing up. And I think like when I look at it now, obviously a lot of hockey players play lacrosse or they play baseball, and that's in the spring. But not a lot play soccer. Definitely most don't play football. And I
mhm,
think if you did a look at like the kids on each prep school team, boys side, I don't think a lot play fall sports. And that's where I always go back to like why couldn't you start the season in mid-October, And I
yeah,
know that it's because those fall sports don't want to be interfered with, but I don't think they'd be interfered with that much.
no, yeah, nobody. Yeah, you could do it, and but like every kid that's going there prep school for hockey, they want to uh, they don't want to play sport. They want to, what do they call it, strength training, I guess. I don't even know. Like they're in the gym doing whatever, preparing for the hockey season in the gym. Yeah, they don't want to play football. They don't want to play soccer or whatever. It's just, yeah, that's how it's become. I don't know. I loved football. I mean, I'll never forget, God rest his soul, Chris Serino. He was the coach at University of New Hampshire at the time. My senior year, I'm playing football. I'm in a game. I was a free safety, and I'm there. And next thing I know, I hear someone yelling on the sideline, "Bogey!" And like who the? I turn, I look, play snaps. I didn't really quite see it. I'm like in the game, and then whistle, whatever, so quick. I'm looking back, and I realize it's Coach Serino. He was the assistant coach at University of New Hampshire, and he was at my football game, and I thought that was awesome, and that was one of the reasons why I went there. Like Coach Sereno was the best, and just like his way to recruit me was showing up at a football game, and I'll never forget that day. And I don't know, it was just crazy. Like that was the moment where I said I'm going to the University of New Hampshire. Maine got in trouble and whatever, and I was just like, I'm going to New Hampshire.
So you're saying that with Jake going through his college recruiting process right now, if an assistant coach comes and sits behind the plate and yells out like "Bogey," like as he's
No,
about to like throw a huge pitch, that's what's gonna see. Like I'm going to this place for
no, I'm not
sure.
saying that, but in that moment, I'm not saying that, but in that moment, I just, yeah, it was like I don't know, it was just a weird situation where, it kind of, you know, I don't know, it just did something for me, and it just created a bond between Coach Sereno and I, and my mom loved him. And yeah, and that's kind of how it, whatever went down. But like, yeah, no, I don't know. It's just now that it's the fit. It's there's so much at stake now with the NIL money. It's crazy what it's become, college. So um, I have no idea where Jake's gonna end up. And baby steps. So I got to get through these 2 years before college.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
Where
gotta get through
it's
him being
like,
in Plymouth, Michigan.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, people ask, where is he going to college? College. I'm trying to get him through high school, never mind college. But yeah, no, I have no idea what's going to happen there. And it's like I said, it's one of those things where it's a fit. For Jake, he's got to feel that connection and to a place, knowing like this is where I'm going to be. Like I'm going to spend the next, I don't know, 4 years of my life here. Is this where I want to be? Am I going to play? Am I going to, whatever? There's a checklist that we're going to have to go through, um, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's his choice, and he's going there, not me. So I could go to a school and be like, oh, that place is great. Doesn't matter. I'm not the one going. So he's got to feel that like I said, that connection.
As you go through the recruitment process and visits or whatever it might be, and just sort of how you see it, because you see, you saw it years before with different players, and I'm sure you had an opinion of it from afar. Now being in it, what's different than maybe you expected? What do you think's right? What do you think's wrong? I'm curious your take on, because again, you're getting recruited around 16 years old, which is, years before you probably end
Yeah.
up in college.
Yeah. Like I know they adjusted that rule. They made it older, I guess.
Hmm.
You're the NCAA, that is. And it was definitely like the way it was before. It was ridiculous. I mean, what, you're committing kids at 13 or 14? I don't even know what the hell it was. I wasn't really paying attention, but I was like, that's insanity. So much can happen. And even now, like to say, oh, we're going to commit in August. Like, I'm like, I don't know, like so much can happen in the next 2 years. Like, how do we know? Um, so yeah, I'm kind of, you know, I'm on the fence when it comes to that. Like, again, Chris Sereno was a big reason why I went to New Hampshire. Well, say I committed there 2, 3 years, and then all of a sudden he gets fired. Now what? Am I still going there? I don't know.
Hmm.
But fortunately for these guys now, and I think that's the thing is what I read. Was it like 300 kids entered the portal in hockey or something, or
Yep.
maybe a little more than 300 kids?
Hmm.
I'm like, holy small, like that's incredible. Um, so now, yeah, I could commit anywhere. It's like, oh, if I don't want to go there, fine, I could go somewhere else. I just transfer into the portal, whatever. There's no penalty now. We did, if we wanted to leave a school, you had to sit the whole year to be eligible to play. So you missed it, knowing, okay, if I leave, I have to sit a whole year and miss a year to play. And no, that was like, yeah, you don't want to do that. That's miserable. Um, so yeah, there's no repercussions anymore, I guess, for that. So does it makes for these kids, it makes it easier for these kids to commit, and it means nothing on both ends. If I commit to New Hampshire, all right, what does that mean? Mommy and daddy gets to post an Instagram message or a Facebook message like, look how great my son is. He committed to the University of New Hampshire. But who knows? Like, I may not even make it there because I don't want to go there, or the coaches may not want me. It's like so much can happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
Evan,
not into that.
You had that story last year about how many August 1st commitments actually make it to their initial destination. It was like 79% or something like that. And it's probably going to go down with like, transfer portal,
Yeah.
schools kind of loaded up in front of you. So now you got to wait maybe another year, or, CHL stuff. They're going to commit more guys out of the CHL. Like it's probably going to keep changing. And like you said, like what's the rush to get that Instagram post up?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. It's going to be way harder now with the CHL opening up, and man, I think Europeans, right? I mean, Europeans are making their way to college now. Um, more so than ever. But yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, at college hockey, it's not going to be easy. Not a lot of programs out there unless they're expanding. Um, but what is there? 60 how many Division I programs are there?
Is it 62?
Is it
That sounds,
62?
yeah, low
I think it's
60s.
62.
Yeah, like
That's not a
not a
lot.
lot. It's not a lot, like talking Division I programs. That's not a lot, especially with the new rules.
Well, I remember I was talking to Joel Beal at Providence about this, one of the assistant coaches there, and he was like, we were talking about August 1st commits. And that first year, I think it was 21 maybe or 2020. It was one of those first years where the rule for the NCAA had been instituted where you had to commit. You couldn't commit until August 1st. And the first couple years of that, when I was going through the data, it was only a couple kids that were August 1st. It wasn't a slew of players. And I think what colleges realized was like, oh my God, like if we can get those high end kids early, we'll get difference makers. And I think now you're seeing more and more colleges who aren't even, who aren't necessarily blue blood schools going after kids, it extended from the top 30 kids being committed to the top 100 kids being committed in that first month in August. And so it's sort of like, yeah, let's commit like 5 kids and we'll take a chance. Like statistically, 3 of these kids are probably going to pan out and 2 of them won't. And I think, Pat, to your point, like I completely agree. I think it was like around 79%. That percentage is going to go down. That percentage is definitely going to go down. And Eric, as you said with the CHL, I think, you can be committed to a school, but they can bring in a kid from Brantford or they can bring in a kid from the Dub, and suddenly you're pushed back on the depth chart. And then
Yeah.
it's going to extend to the transfer portal. And that's why, like, I think the CHL ruling, yeah, of course, it's going to impact prep schools and it's going to get younger and less Canadian kids, whatever. But, like, college wise, I think even if you commit to a school, they could still take a kid from the CHL when he's 20.
I know. Yeah,
It's crazy.
it's very crazy. I don't know what's true or not, but you hear the news of like these schools that are trying to the kids that are supposed to be top 5 draft picks in this year's draft. They're trying to lure them to their programs for 1 year or whatever. Like I don't even know how many years. Like it, but
Michigan just got a kid.
Michigan got who I forget was it
I forget who it
Misa?
was. It wasn't me. I don't think it was Misa, but it was someone who's I think like a
Yeah.
first round
Yeah, they're going to be
prospect
like
this
a
year.
top 5 pick, I think.
Yeah.
And there's a couple others that are, I think other schools are trying to get, but like those last second players, you're like, okay, well, I'm going, and all of a sudden, bang, uh-oh, where does that leave me?
That's right.
But, you know,
Commitment is just a little bit less and less. Pat, did we miss anything? I
I don't think so. We covered a lot.
We hit a lot of
yeah, we
ground.
may have jumped around a little bit, but I don't
Yeah.
That's
know.
good.
That's my
That's good.
brain. That's,
That's how it
I don't
goes here.
know. Yeah,
We're here to lead you.
yeah, no, I think we did cover a lot. We could talk for days probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's an exciting time, honestly. Like in the hockey world, it's our game has come so far, and even with the expansion in the NHL, and they're talking about more teams coming, and some people hate it. They're like, it's watering it down. It's not going to be as good. I don't know. It's opportunity. It's jobs. It's from every aspect, like coaching, playing, training, media, whatever it is. It's opportunities and jobs. So I think it's a great thing, and Bettman has done an incredible job in building our game out, and it's just I mean, I'd like to see. I'm hoping more colleges start Division I programs because there's going to be a need for it.
Yeah,
And
Oh
got
yeah.
that new rink coming.
yeah, like, so I haven't followed it too much. I mean, if a school's out there and they're thinking about it, hit me up.
We just need to get the SEC and Pac-12 for college hockey.
Exactly. Like
Eric Boguniecki, the Nick Saban for Alabama hockey. It's gonna be
Alabama, roll
great.
tide, man. Like let's go. Let's get after it. But that's honestly no joke. I mean, that's a school that can start a program in 2 seconds, and there, like I said, there's a demand, there's a need for it, and I don't know the business side and what it generates and all that stuff, but I'm sure it can generate money for the school and whatnot. So yeah, I would 100% hope that there'll be schools that are looking to start programs.
And I think hockey's just growing fast. I think people are realizing. I think I had a roommate. I have a roommate now who, when we were watching Four Nations, he was never really a hockey guy before, and then all of a sudden he's like watching the rest of the NHL regular season, and he's following and watching every playoff game. And I think a lot of places are like that. And you see, like obviously in the playoffs right now, Dallas and Florida and
Yeah.
Carolina, and it's like people there are acclimating to the game. They're realizing they like it a lot. It's fun to watch. And I think you're seeing that at colleges too. Pat, what was it a couple years ago? Was it UNC and NC
Yeah,
State had a club hockey game at a football field?
outside. Yeah, they did
Yeah.
it outside when Carolina had the stadium series. And like you see it on like speaking of Instagram and stuff, like you see it like on social media all the time. Like Texas's new uniforms for their club hockey team are sick. UCLA, Georgia, they have the big rink coming. Like UNC is always rolling something out. Like I like these schools like that are like huge, football and basketball schools and have no problem attracting like regular kids from the Northeast. They'll have no problem attracting hockey players.
No, no, I agree. I mean, that's the club. There's club teams that are, it's, I mean, they get treated better than probably some Division I college teams. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like it's impressive. Yeah, I mean, just even growing up like with Jake and watching the kids from Florida and like all those parts of the country that you just mentioned, it's like it's huge. Our game's in such a great place, and it's continuing to grow, and like I said, it's exciting. And I don't know what the end game is. I don't think we're ever going to be able to make the money like football, baseball, or basketball, but our games, it's hard to watch on TV. But yeah, to Evan's point, I don't know how many people hit me up that aren't hockey people after that Four Nations tournament, be like, wow, I'm hooked on hockey. Like this sport is unbelievable. And they never watched a game in their life until that tournament, and all of a sudden now they're huge hockey fans. So yeah, it's just like I said, it's always hard for people to watch the game on TV. It's too fast. It's too fast of a game, and if you don't know what's going on, you're like, yeah, it could be tough. But you go to a game live, and like I said, they always make fun. Why do you guys fight? I'm like, well, go to a game and watch how many people stand up when two players drop the gloves and cheer. Like the whole place erupts. So it's just part of the game. It's a physical, dangerous game, and yeah, you need it. You need it there to create some fear in the players so they don't do anything stupid. And that's the bottom line. We police ourselves, and that's it. So there's no other real explanation.
Do you want to skate fast? For 50 years, Laura Stam instructors have taught youth players to pros how to skate correctly, powerfully, and fast. Players who attend Laura Stam power skating programs learn how to skate fast by learning how to execute every maneuver in hockey. They become powerful, stable, efficient, and explosively fast skaters. If you can't wait for a clinic, join our subscription skills video service, and we'll show you the skills taught at our clinics in an easy-to-use video format with training plans to guide your training. Register or subscribe now at laurastam.com. That's LauraStamm.com. You can learn to skate fast.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students can earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
So I say, go top shelf, upper 90s, right under the crossbar. Any questions?
Professor, the NCAA lacrosse championships are coming to Boston. Are we ready?
You prepared to get loud, face paint up, bring boom boom to Beantown? Oh, you're ready. The NCAA D1, D2, and D3 men's and D1 women's lacrosse championships, May 23rd through the 26th in Boston. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/tickets.
I think it's time for overtime.
It is.
Overtime.
Yes, welcome back to Overtime, where I give 3 questions to all of our panelists here usually it's about hockey. Maybe today it's going to be about breakfast cereal, but no, you know what? It's probably going to be about hockey. Question number 1, and Eric, you go first. We're going to start off with just a real softball. What was the first time or the most memorable time when you said to yourself, man, I love this sport, hockey?
Yeah, I was young. My mom and dad tell me this all the time. I was probably like 3 years old, and I wouldn't come off the ice. Like I was on the ice, and I'm like, man, I love this game.
And what else do you remember about that? This is like Pee Wee hockey or something like that?
No, this was like house league. I was just starting out, and they put me out on the ice, and I had the ability to score goals at a young age. And right off the hop, my mom said my hands, my shot, it was just natural, and it worked right away. My skating wasn't very good, but yeah, it was just one of those things where I loved it. And I'd go home, shoot pucks at the house, break windows, shingles, you name it, piss my dad off.
I think every red-blooded American kid has a story about breaking a window. I can remember specifically every window I ever broke. Evan, we'll go to you. First time you said to yourself, man, I love hockey.
It was the beginners in youth hockey. I was probably like in first grade maybe, and we used to have these house league games. This was before like you made a travel team, and it was just in-house. And it was like a Christmas tournament, and it was fun, and like Santa was there, and I remember scoring like 2 or 3 goals and just being like, I love this. These are the vibes I want. And the goal scoring never came naturally the rest of my career, but the love for hockey did, and that's all that mattered.
Santa Claus and hockey, 2 things no one can ignore and no one can not love.
Contagious.
Pat, your thoughts. First time you said that to yourself.
Yeah, I started late. Like the summer the Bruins won the cup, like we were all over that cup run, and we started playing like street hockey in the cul-de-sac. And I remember like, that fall I got, copy of NHL 12 on the Xbox. I was playing that all the time. Next thing I know, so a bunch of my friends had already played, and they're like, dude, just come like mess around at the house league with us. And so I was doing that, like doing Learn to Skate. I was like 11 years old. I was one of the oldest kids there. But I loved it. And then I was like playing maybe last year Pee Wee, first year Bantam was like my first year organized. And it was just off and running till couldn't really make it any further at JV in high school, but it was awesome.
Well, excellent answers all around. Pat, you brought up the Stanley Cup. Thank you for the segue. Question number 2, and Pat, we'll go around the bend the other way here, so it's your turn first. If you had custody of the Stanley Cup for 24 hours, how would you spend that day?
Man, well, I'd have to eat cereal out of it like everybody else. So start my morning with like some Cinnamon Toast Crunch or like some Honey Nut Cheerios in that.
Nice.
Maybe take it out on the golf course. If I'm up north, take it like just hang out with it by the river. And then, you're just going to end the night with just a nice get together with everybody.
All right. That's not bad for on the spot.
Pretty low key.
Pat Donnelly's day off with the cup. You have it right there. Evan, we go to you. You had the cup for 24 hours.
I'd go to space with it, and I'd just keep it up there. I'd live up there. And you know what I mean? Like imagine like the Stanley Cup is missing for a full year, and it's like we got to get to space to get him. I think that'd be awesome. It'd be the most iconic Stanley Cup storyline ever.
Yeah.
No, the more realistic thing would be I'd go to my hometown, have a big thing, stuff all day, go all night with it, like everybody that you grew up with, share it with them. I think that would be. I always find it cool when people win it multiple times and they'll bring it to or even if they win it once, bring it to like a children's hospital or something like that. I think that is like the peak of humanity. But I I think I'd bring it to my hometown and bring it to hospitals there, maybe. So
Okay, excellent answers, and way to make everybody else look bad by you being the charitable guy. It's
Yeah.
well, I didn't really say I would fully bring it. I'd bring it in for a little bit,
just a
but,
little
you know,
bit, yeah.
hometown.
The kids
Walk through.
All right, kids, get a good look. You've had a good look. All right, we got to go.
Evan's out of here. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Eric, your thoughts?
that's hard to follow Evan's answer, so I can't bring it to adult entertainment clubs. But
You could.
I believe it's been there.
No, man, that would be I would drink a lot of beer out of it, and and I would take it on my journey. I would take it starting from day one where I started, and just basically navigate it through my whole hockey journey, and bring it everywhere I've been, and just end it off with a nice big party, and you know, of course, I agree with Evan. It's just to bring it to your hometown and just share it with the community, and just so many of those people. It would be an unbelievable experience for me. And you know, whether it's hospitals, whatever it may be, just man, I pray that one day I have that opportunity, even though I never got it as a player. But you know, hopefully someday, whether it's a coach or a scout, I get to experience that.
Well, we're rooting for you on that note, Eric. And just when you throw that big party, just remember that we hatched this plan together, the four of us. We would like an invitation. So
I will be sure.
Very good.
Everyone will be there.
All right. The final question for overtime. The word fan, as in sports fan, is short for fanatic. And I think all of us here probably have had moments rooting for our favorite teams where we stopped and said, maybe I've gone too far. I recall on a personal note, in the 2004 Boston Red Sox postseason, I started experiencing chest pains from the anxiety of the extra inning games. And I said to myself, oh, boy, maybe this is a bit much. Eric, can you think of a time rooting for a hockey team where you realized how much of part of it was you, and maybe even to insane levels?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I ever had that feeling as watching a pro game, or you know, anything like that. I would say I'd had that experience more with my son's game, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
So I don't know if that counts, but yeah, I've had those moments where, I was just like, holy shit.
When your son is perhaps on the mound pitching, that's a guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely one moment, and definitely in hockey, you know, there's been games where you got so emotional and caught up in it, and things happen.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, whether you're yelling at someone, grabbing someone, I don't know. Shit happens sometimes, and it's like you said, it's an emotional game. So
I've been there too, and my son has played a bunch of different sports. I don't think I was ever more petrified when in a soccer game they put him in net. There's just, it feels it's supposed to be fun, and as soon as he's in there, you're like, you're not rooting for something great. You're just saying, please, 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 don't let him get embarrassed. Don't let him screw up. And you're worried. You're in your mind. You're thinking he's going to be scarred for life, and it's my fault for letting him play soccer. Well, Evan, I know you don't have kids, so you can't answer the question that way. But was there a time in your life when you're rooting, you felt it made you a little bit crazy?
I will actually go recent. Ever since getting into media and sports media, you sort of push the fandom aside, and you start looking at the game from a different angle, and you don't feel the same things. I think it was like last year, might have been last year, UMass was in the national tournament, and they're playing Denver in the first round. And I was just sitting alone in my living room. I was like, oh, I'll watch the game, whatever. And I don't really write about college much anymore, so I kind of am allowed to be a fan. And oh my God, like I hadn't felt this in so long, the anxiety, like sitting, and it went to double OT, and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like sweating through my clothes. I'm like, this is insane. Like like every feeling I'd been pushing down for the last 5 years of being a fan, just like whoosh came up. And I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know how people do this in person. And that's why I like when they're like a Bruins fan at a game and it goes to like, double or triple OT in the playoffs. It's like sitting there. I mean, it's like, man, I want to just like lay down and like, take some breaths. So yeah, that was like I was stunned. I didn't know I had that in me anymore, but I did.
It's a completely irrational behavior where you are watching a game, watching a bunch of guys with sticks and a puck, and that you don't know any of them typically. You don't know any of them personally, and yet you are living and dying on the fate of whether one team puts that puck. It is that's why we're crazy. And Pat, how about you? Crazy moment rooting?
Man, yeah, like kind of in the same boat as Evan, where it's been so long. Like those kind of anxieties are finally starting to like kind of come back around for BU. But yeah, for like the Bruins, I remember 2019, it was my freshman year at school. And like within a week, I had gone to game 2 against the Leafs, and then they forced game 7. And like we split decision, bought tickets. And I just remember like just how insane that was. And it was like my head was spinning the whole game because like they got an early lead, and it was just like bedlam because you're shouting at Freddie Anderson and you're like, oh, we own the Leafs. And I remember like not having a voice the next day. And yeah, it's like usually when I know like I don't have a voice, like I know it's kind of past the line.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. You wake up the next morning, it's like, why can't I talk?
Yeah.
Anyway, excellent answers all around. And I will get miniature Stanley Cups for all of you in case we don't get the real thing. That's your prize. Yeah, except
I'm excited.
I don't know if they actually make those, but they must, right? They must.
Oh God, easy way to make money.
Okay. Very good. Back to you, Evan, to wrap things up.
Well, this has been fun, Eric. Thanks so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. A lot of great insight as always. And Pat, thank you for joining along for the ride. And that's RinkWise. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You RinkWise listeners, we will see you at the rinks.